Ferris wheel.
Ferris wheel.
Ferris.
Ferris.
Ferrule.
Feral.
Ferry.
Ferry.
The ship was used to ferry supplies to Russia during the war.
Ferrying passengers across the channel.
Ferryboat.
Ferryboat.
Fertile.
Fertile.
800 acres of fertile cropland.
Most men remain fertile into old age.
The fertile Philadelphia music scene.
Fertility.
Fertility.
Fertility drug.
Fertility drug.
Fertilize.
Fertilize.
After the egg has been fertilized, it will hatch in about 6 weeks.
Fertilizer.
Fertilizer.
Fervent.
Fervent.
A fervent appeal for peace.
A fervent supporter of human rights.
Fervid.
Fervid.
Fervor.
Fervor.
Religious fervour. Revolutionary fervour.
Patriotic fervor. Fess.
Fess.
Come on, fess up. Who ate that last cookie?
Fest.
Fest.
A talk fest. A snooze fest. Fester.
Fester.
The dispute can be traced back to resentments which have festered for centuries. Festering sores. Festival.
Festival.
The Swansea Festival of Music and the Arts. The Swansea Festival of Music and the Arts.
Christmas is one of the main festivals in the Christian calendar.
Festivity.
Festivity.
The festivities started with a procession through the town.
There was an air of festivity in the village. There was an air of festivity in the village.
Festoon.
Festoon.
Malaga was festooned with banners and flags in honour of the king's visit.
Feta cheese. Feta cheese.
Fetal.
Fetal.
Fetch.
Fetch.
Quick, go and fetch a doctor.
Shannon went upstairs to fetch some blankets.
Would you mind going to fetch the kids from school?
Fetch me some coffee while you're up. Fetch me some coffee while you're up.
The painting is expected to fetch at least $20 million.
Am I supposed to fetch and carry for him all day?
This announcement fetched a huge cheer from the audience. I fell asleep on the train and fetched up in Glasgow.
Fetching.
Fetching.
Your sister looks very fetching in that dress. Fete.
Fate.
The church fete.
A farewell fete in honour of the mayor.
The team was feted from coast to coast.
Fetid.
Fetid.
The black fetid water of the lake.
The dog's fetid breath.
Fetish.
Fetish.
A leather fetish. Sue has a real fetish about keeping everything tidy.
Fetishist.
Fetishist.
Fetlock.
Fetlock.
Fetter.
Fetter.
Fettered by family responsibilities.
Fetters.
Fetters.
Breaking the fetters of convention. Breaking the fetters of convention.
Fettle.
Fettle.
Fetus.
Fetus.
Feud.
Feud.
A bitter feud over territory.
A feud between rival drug organisations.
The neighbouring states are feuding over the rights to the river. The neighbouring states are feuding over the rights to the river.
Feudal.
Feudal.
The feudal system. Feudal society.
Feudalism.
Feudalism.
Feudalistic.
Feudalistic.
Fever.
Fever.
Andy has a fever and won't be coming into work today.
I woke up this morning with a fever and an upset stomach.
She's running a fever. The usual symptoms are a pink rash with a slight fever.
A fever of excitement on Wall Street.
Soccer fever has been sweeping the nation as they prepare for the World Cup.
The nation was at fever pitch in the days leading up to the election. The nation was at fever pitch in the days leading up to the election. The nation was at fever pitch in the days leading up to the election.
After a night of rioting, tensions in the city reached fever pitch.
Fever blister.
Fever blister.
Fevered.
Fevered.
The child's fevered cries.
His fevered brow.
These stories are merely a product of her fevered imagination.
Feverish.
Feverish.
She lay in bed, too feverish to sleep.
There was a feverish blush to his cheeks.
They waited in a state of feverish anxiety for their mother to come home.
The show was about to begin, and backstage there were signs of feverish activity. Congress is working feverishly to pass the bill.
Few. Few.
I have to buy a few things at the supermarket.
Pam called to say she's going to be a few minutes late.
There were a few people sitting at the back of the hall.
There are a few more things I'd like to discuss.
I've read a few of her books. I could suggest many different methods, but anyway, here are just a few.
There are only a very few exceptions.
The office has been closed for the last few days.
The plants need to be watered every few days.
She had enjoyed her few days in Monaco.
She must have cooked a good few dinners over the years.
There were hundreds of protesters, not a few of whom were women.
Low-paid jobs that few people want.
Many people expressed concern, but few were willing to help.
The team that makes the fewest mistakes usually wins.
Very few of the staff come from the local area.
Mr. Wingate was full of explanations, but precious few of them made sense. Mr. Wingate was full of explanations, but precious few of them made sense. Mr. Wingate was full of explanations, but precious few of them made sense.
The cathedral was one of the few buildings not destroyed in the war.
This hospital is one of the few that are equipped to provide transplant surgery. This hospital is one of the few that are equipped to provide transplant surgery.
I gathered together my few possessions.
I tried to contact him no fewer than 10 times.
Sometimes as few as 20 out of 500 or more candidates succeed in passing all the tests. Sometimes as few as 20 out of 500 or more candidates succeed in passing all the tests.
This is a feature of languages such as Arabic, Spanish, and Portuguese, to name but a few.
Such information is made available only to the chosen few.
The needs of the many have been ignored. Instead, the priority has been to bring benefits only to the few. Jobs are few and far between at the moment. He looks as if he's had a few.
Fay.
Fay. A fey and delicate child.
Fez.
Fez.
Pages 17 FF. Pages 17 FF.
Fiancé.
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 Fiasco.
Fiasco.
The first lecture I ever gave was a complete fiasco.
Fiat.
Fiat.
He works for Fiat.
Fiat.
The matter was settled by presidential fiat.
Fib.
Fib.
He's been known to tell fibs. I think you're fibbing.
Fibre.
Fiber.
Fiberboard.
Fiberboard.
Fiberglass.
Fiberglass.
Fibre.
Fiber.
Fruit and vegetables are high in fiber content.
Food that is high in dietary fiber.
Nylon is a man-made fiber. He wanted her with every fiber of his being. He wanted her with every fiber of his being. He wanted her with every fiber of his being.
Fiberboard.
Fiberboard.
Fiberglass.
Fiberglass.
Fibre optics.
Fiber optics.
Fiber optic cables.
Fibrous.
Fibrous.
The coconut has a fibrous outer covering.
Fibula.
Fibula.
Fickle.
Fickle.
An unpredictable and fickle lover.
The fickleness of fame.
Fiction.
Fiction.
Romantic fiction.
Historical fiction.
Preserving the fiction of his happy childhood.
Fictional.
Fictional.
Fictional characters.
The novel is set in the fictional German town of Kreiswald.
Fictionalize.
Fictionalize.
A fictionalized account of his life in Berlin.
Fictitious.
Fictitious.
A fictitious address.
Fictitious characters.
Fictive.
Fictive.
The fictive world of James Bond.
Fiddle.
Fiddle.
An insurance fiddle. They suspected he was on the fiddle all along.
This blouse is a bit of a fiddle to do up.
Stop fiddling, will you?
I sat and fiddled at the computer for a while.
She was at her desk in the living room, fiddling with a deck of cards.
Bert had been fiddling his income tax for years.
I've been fiddling around with this old car for months, but I still can't get it to work.
Why did you let her fiddle about with the remote control?
The bus company is always fiddling around with the schedules.
After fiddling with the tuning, I finally got JFM.
Don't let him fiddle with my bag.
Fiddler.
Fiddler.
Tax fiddlers.
Fiddlesticks.
Fiddlesticks.
Fiddler.
Fiddler.
Fiddling.
Fiddling little jobs around the house. Fiddling little jobs around the house.
Fiddly.
Fiddly.
Fixing the TV was a fiddly job.
Fidelity.
Fidelity.
The importance of marital fidelity.
His fidelity to the company over 25 years.
The movie's fidelity to the original book. The movie's fidelity to the original book.
Fidget.
Fidget.
The kids had started to fidget.
Stop fidgeting with your pens. Fidgety.
Fidgety.
The boys get fidgety if they can't play outside.
Fi.
Fi.
Fiefdom.
Fiefdom.
He regarded the company as his personal fiefdom. Fi.
Fiefdom.
He regarded the company as his personal fiefdom.
Field.
Field.
A view of green fields and rolling hills. A field of wheat.
Working in the cotton fields.
Her work in the field of human rights.
Peter's an expert in his field.
He's the best-known American outside the field of politics.
The local soccer field.
The team have had a bad year, both on and off the field.
Fans cheered as the players took the field.
His theories have not yet been tested in the field.
The field of candidates for the election.
Germany was leading the field with a figure of 53%.
Prince led the field as they came around the final bend. Prince led the field as they came around the final bend.
The Earth's magnetic field.
North Sea oil fields.
The new tank has yet to be tested in the field.
Medals won on the field of battle.
Josh left the company, leaving the field clear for me.
An empty field. The Ecology Party fielded 109 candidates. We fielded a team of highly talented basketball players.
The minister fielded questions on the Middle East.
The press office fielded numerous calls from the media.
Field corn.
Field corn.
Field day.
Field day.
The newspapers had a field day when the trial finished. The newspapers had a field day when the trial finished. Fielder.
Fielder.
Field event.
Field event.
Field glasses.
Field glasses.
Field goal.
Field goal.
Field hockey.
Field hockey.
Field hospital.
Field hospital.
Field marshal.
Field marshal.
Field mouse.
Field mouse.
Field officer.
Field officer.
Fieldsman.
Fieldsman.
Field sports.
Field sports.
Field test.
Field test.
Field trip.
Field trip.
A geography field trip.
Field work.
Field work.
Fiend.
Fiend.
A heartless fiend.
Both of them were fighting like fiends.
Fiendish.
Fiendish.
A particularly fiendish practical joke.
A fiendish plan.
Several fiendish exam questions.
Fierce.
Fierce.
Fierce fighting in the city.
The government's policies came under fierce attack.
A fierce debate.
Fierce competition between the companies.
Fierce guard dogs.
She turned round, looking fierce.
These people take fierce pride in their independence.
A fierce wind.
It was snowing something fierce. Fiercely.
Fiercely. The idea was fiercely opposed by nationalists. It is a fiercely competitive market. Maria was fiercely independent. He stared fiercely into my eyes. "Don't you dare laugh," she said fiercely.
Fiery.
Fiery.
A fiery sunset.
Leaves that turn fiery red in autumn.
He has a fiery temper.
A fiery speech.
Fiesta.
Fiesta.
Fife.
Fife.
15.
15.
A coastal village 15 miles south of Tehran.
They met when she was 15.
In the 15th century.
Her 15th birthday.
I'm planning to leave on the 15th.
5th.
5th.
In the 5th century.
Her 5th birthday.
They'd made her feel like a fifth wheel. They'd made her feel like a fifth wheel.
I'm planning to leave on the 5th.
A fifth of bourbon.
5th column.
5th column.
50.
50.
Standards of living rose in the 50s.
The play was written in the late 50s.
He must be in his early 50s by now.
Sunny with temperatures in the mid-50s.
I can give you 5 tens for that 50 if you want.
Her 50th birthday.
50-50.
50-50.
The companies split the profits 50-50.
We'll share it on a 50-50 basis.
We went 50-50 on a new TV set.
A 50-50 chance of winning.
50-50. Fig.
Fig. Fig.
Fight.
Fight.
The families of those who fought in the war.
Rebel forces fighting against the Russians. They fought for control of the islands.
Neither country is capable of fighting a long war.
Later the Indians fought the Anglo settlers.
2 guys were fighting with each other in the street.
They were fighting over a girl.
She fought him desperately, kicking and biting.
The men were fighting for higher wages.
Stockley is fighting for his life, with serious head injuries.
She fought her way back into the first team.
The president was fighting to survive.
People are fighting against repression and injustice.
We will fight terrorism wherever it exists. The Prime Minister decided to fight an early general election.
He had to fight several other applicants for the job.
Both men were used to fighting for power. I heard her fighting with the boss. They're fighting about who should do the dishes.
Allie fought Foreman for the heavyweight title.
She fought her fear.
She was clearly fighting with her emotions.
The insurance company are fighting the claims in court. The insurance company are fighting the claims in court.
We fought our way through the crowd.
I'm fighting a losing battle on this diet.
Lewis has a fighting chance to win the gold medal.
He's rich now, but he had to fight tooth and nail for it. He's rich now, but he had to fight tooth and nail for it. Mum, I can fight my own battles now.
In the second half, the team showed their true fighting spirit.
I didn't get on with her at work either. We fought like cat and dog.
The Prime Minister made it clear that Britain would fight its corner on Europe. Many women fight shy of motherhood. Many women fight shy of motherhood.
United fought back and scored a last-minute goal.
She was fighting back against the cancer.
The rebels are fighting back.
She looked away, fighting back her tears.
He fought back the impulse to slap her.
Doug fought down a feeling of panic.
Bodyguards had to fight off the crowds.
The company managed to fight off a takeover attempt.
Alan fought off stiff competition from throughout the UK to win one of only 4 places at the college. Alan fought off stiff competition from throughout the UK to win one of only 4 places at the college. Alan fought off stiff competition from throughout the UK to win one of only 4 places at the college.
Elaine's fighting off a cold. We left them to fight it out.
Her son was always getting into fights at school. They ended up having a fight with each other. A fight broke out between the fans.
Fights over territory.
The fight for justice and democracy.
The little girl lost her fight for life last night.
The fight against crime.
The fight to get financial aid.
You'll have a fight on your hands to convince the committee.
They've had a fight with the neighbours.
Fights over money.
Are you going to watch the big fight tonight?
The fight for Bunker Hill. There's plenty of fight left in you, grandmother. There's plenty of fight left in you, grandmother.
Our team put up a good fight.
Fight back.
Fight back.
Arsenal staged a spirited fight back in the second half.
Fighter.
Fighter.
He was shot down by enemy fighters.
A fighter pilot.
James is a fighter. He never gives up.
Fighting.
Fighting.
Heavy fighting between government and rebel forces.
Fighting broke out in the crowds.
Fig leaf.
Fig leaf.
Figment.
Figment.
Figurative.
Figurative.
He's my son, in the figurative sense of the word.
They have a taste, figuratively speaking, for excitement.
Figure.
Figure. Ohio's unemployment figures for December.
Government figures underestimate the problem.
It's about 30,000 in round figures. The figure 2.
Executives with salaries in 6 figures.